We're live.
Yeah, mine tells me call Toyota.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Kentucky State Board of Education to order. Please, Meredith, call the roll.
Joanne Adams.
Here.
Holly Bloodworth.
Here.
Jamie Bowling.
Here.
Patrice McCrary.
Here.
Julie Pyle. Randy Poe.
Here.
Sharon Robinson.
Here.
Lee Todd.
Here. Here.
Okay. Steve Trimble.
Here.
Diane Woods.
Here.
Lou Young.
Here.
Alyssa Riley.
Here.
RJ Osborne. Secretary Link.
Present
President-
virtually.
Secretary Link is present.
President Thompson. Okay, Chair, you do have a quorum.
Thank you so much. I'd like to call the board's attention to our internal board business. The summary minutes for the February 7, 2024 KBE regular meeting, March 7, 2024 KBE interview committee meeting, March 8, 2024 KBE interview committee meeting, March 18, 2024 KBE special meeting, March 19, 2024 KBE special meeting, March 21, 2024 KBE special meeting, and the March 28, 2024 KBE Awards Committee meeting were distributed to you in advance. Are there any corrections to any of these minutes? Seeing none, then I'd ask a motion for their approval.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you so much. Please, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The minutes are approved. Next, I'd like to call on Patrice McCrary, the chair of our awards committee, to give a report.
Chair, I would if I had that report.
Okay.
I have it coming.
Okay.
Thank you. Now I'm ready.
Wonderful.
David Karam served on the Kentucky Board of Education from 2009 through 2016. He served for 33 years in the Kentucky State Senate and as chair of the Senate Education Committee. During his tenure in the Kentucky General Assembly, Karam championed the passage of the Kentucky Education Reform Act, as we so lovingly recall it as KERA. And he led the efforts for the 4% school tax levy. This award is given in the spring of each year to state policymakers, education leaders, or citizens who have made notable state-level contributions to the improvement of Kentucky's public education system. Criteria for the award includes demonstrated leadership in policy development, passage or implementation resulting in increased educational opportunities for students, improved educational, post-secondary, or workforce outcomes for students, or increased capacity of teachers or school staff to better meet the academic, social, or emotional needs of Kentucky students. On behalf of the awards committee, I would like to share that the committee met on Thursday, March 28th, and determined that candidate number 2 best met the criteria of the award. Therefore, I would like to move approval of candidate number 2 as the recipient of the 2024 Karam Award for Excellence in Educational Policy, and as the chair for the board's approval to recognize candidate number 2 at the board's upcoming June regular meeting.
Well, thank you so much, Patrice. This is the best, hardest working committee that I can imagine.
We leave with a smile every time.
That's right. Coming from the committee, this motion does not require a second, so I will call the question. All those in favor of taking the committee's recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
If there's any opposition, say no. The motion carries. Thanks again to Patrice and the committee. Now it's my pleasure to offer an update on the commissioner search. Dr. Robbie Fletcher, the current superintendent of Lawrence County Schools, has been selected as Kentucky's next commissioner of education. After thoughtful consideration of the feedback collected from numerous Kentucky stakeholders and the priorities of the Kentucky Board of Education, we sought a leader who embodied the qualities of an ambassador and statesperson, an expert instructional leader, a strong organizational leader, and a visionary innovator. We are confident that we met all of these standards in the selection of Dr. Fletcher as our next Commissioner of Education. Pending confirmation by the State Senate, Dr. Fletcher will assume his role on July 1. I do want to commend this board for the intense engagement and the degree to which you brought your heart, your soul, and your head to the process of selecting this commissioner. I feel that we really are to feel commended, to be commended for this selection, and I congratulate you, and I thank you for the privilege of serving as the chair during this process. Now I want to give the board a hand.
Yay.
Our next item is the consent agenda. As a reminder, this item, which does require a vote, this item consists of the consent agenda and allows approval in one action. KBE staff identified these items as those that are non-controversial and routine in nature. The consent agenda was distributed to members in advance of the meeting to allow sufficient time for review. At this time, does any member wish to have a consent agenda item removed or moved to the regular discussion action items? If no items are to be moved, I would ask the board to entertain a motion to approve all the items on the consent agenda: the Perkins v. State Plan, the approval of tax rates levied, certification of 702 KAR 6:090, the hearing officer's report, and the litigation report. All those in favor of approving these reports, please say aye.
I think you need a motion.
I so moved.
And I'll
Thank
second.
you. Just
I'll
moving
second.
right along.
And
Thank you,
I'll
Patrice.
second.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Jamie, thank you. Now, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Is there any opposition? Please say no. Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you so much. We now come to our committees. We have two standing committees that will meet at this time. Now, the State Schools Committee is going to meet here, and the United We Learn Committee will meet in 516. This is a slight change from the agenda as we originally printed it, because the State Schools Committee does have an action item, and this keeps us on camera. The United We Learn Committee will be recorded so that it is accessible to the public and thoroughly documented. So at this time, we'd ask the United We Learn Committee to retire to 5/16. Great. I'd like to call the board to order following our committee meetings. Dr. Poe, do you want to report on the State Schools Committee?
Sure, thank you. Love to. Those of you that were in the United We Learned, some of the things that we had the opportunity to have the pleasure of seeing. We got an update from KSBA and KSD. A lot of great programs going on. I'll start with, I think it was KSD first one. A lot of great things for year in review, residential life programs that they're doing there. It's just unbelievable. And there's a PowerPoint in your packet be able to review. But the residential life, the academic standards that we talked about, the visual and blinded, impaired, a lot of their curriculum mapping goes along with the portrait of a learner, and they're living those life skills, independent learning, extracurricular activities. Some of the outreach, which I find tremendous that they're doing, with district support, regional family events. Students just placed first, second, and third in the competition that was here in Louisville, national competition. So a lot of great things that's occurring. And then at KSB, we heard from the interim principal, the academics, career and technical. They have three major career and technical areas they're working in right now: the agricultural, drones, and wood shop. Once again, similar to just like KSD, the residential life, increased safety, mental health services, extracurricular. They just signed the national anthem at an event that they attended. Family outreach, other outreach services are tremendous. So a lot of great things going on. If you ever get the chance from the other committee there of attending some of the events, you will be amazed to see the work that they get to do. We will try to get those dates out to you sooner in the future so that you can get them on your calendar and you can visit to see a lot of the great things that the students are doing at both KSB and KSD. The other activity that we had an update also on CTE funding and policies. You had the pleasure of missing 156 policies and procedures they have worked through one by one. They did a fantastic job. So you got to miss all that. And I'm very thankful for staff for making sure that they did all the hard lifting on all those policies and procedures. Chair Robinson, because of this, we need you to ask for a vote by the full board to approve the tech policies and procedures, and then I'll finish up after that.
Thank you, Dr. Poe. I promised the committee full board. We did review the material in the portal, and it's just we were quite impressed with the very laborious task that it was, but the essential task that it was to get ready to inform and support the administration of the program among those staff, the educators, administrators, and all those responsible for program delivery. So we were satisfied, and I would appreciate a motion from the board coming in. We need a motion, but we don't need a second. We'd ask the board to entertain a motion to approve. The committee is recommending that you approve the amendments to 780 KAR 2:01.
Yeah, I think we're okay.
So we should be under action discussion items, report of the State Schools Committee. So we.
I thought I was.
Yeah, I think we're okay.
Correct.
Yeah, I think we're there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
This is the motion that we want. The motion is to approve the proposed amendments to 780.
No, the motion was from Dr. Poe.
I see,
So
I
you
see,
want him to
I
repeat
see.
it?
All
Yeah.
right, all right. I'm way ahead of myself,
Yeah.
guys. That's another big set of amendments. Okay, thank you, Dr. Poe. And coming from the committee, we asked the board to, for a motion to approve the recommendation to adopt these revisions.
So I made a
Motion.
motion.
You made the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? If you oppose, you're going to have to explain. Seriously, this was an important program. So we want to get the regs right, and we now have the right authority to implement these amendments. Thank you, Dr. Poe.
And the last thing that we did in committee, which did not require that approval there, is we discussed basically House Bill 499, equity and funding that CTE has been working on for over a year now. And I won't go and try to explain that funding to the rest of the committee there because they did a great job, but they'd have to come back up and do that for you. But what we did discuss, and we were thankful seeing the CTE students here at the last board meeting downstairs, and also at the Kentucky School Board Association. So I know most of you got the pleasure of being here, those that were present. So a lot of great things happening in CTE. So that's a
Great event.
Any comments or questions? Actually, it was a very substantive, good, orderly meeting run by Dr. Paul.
After we had to ask Miss Sharon to let someone else run a meeting.
Indeed.
Power of the gavel.
They wouldn't give me a gavel. I
No.
just had
Randy with a weapon.
The other committee that many of us would love to be a spot on the wall.
Yes,
Of
and
interest.
you really would have loved this meeting because I think it reminds us all of why we are a part of this group. And it just kind of gives, I don't know, it gives us like encouragement and faith that our work here is moving forward in wonderful ways. We heard from Chief Academic Officer Mickey Ray and KDE Director of Early Literacy Christy Biggerstaff, and they reported on the state literacy coaching model. Very exciting work that's going on there. We were excited to hear about the 5 regional directors that are working with 25 state literacy coaching specialists, and they are working with schools with the greatest needs. They have been assigned and are beginning to meet with them soon, and so that's exciting. They will be, I think what was really wonderful to hear was how these coaches are going to be true partners in the schools, offering coaching, feedback, and supports, and helping the schools bring together the professional learning that they're having in connection with those high quality instructional resources and the local priorities and how the schools can bring all of those together. So it's not like, you're going to do this, but it's more us working with them and bringing all of those things together for the schools and what meets their needs. They're going to be working with 24 schools and 18 districts. So we also heard an update about letters training, and there's I think 4,000 educators that have participated in that initiative, and we are entering the 3rd cohort of letters training. So we heard some really great quotes and inspiring words. Some of the words that came out were extensive, informative, enlightening, reassuring, eye-opening, and invigorating were some of the words that were captured about the letters training. So seeing some real transformative work going on in early literacy. And then we also heard, and you want to get your calendars out, because the Read to Succeed conference is going to be held June 20th, and they are extending a special invitation to us to attend. I think it's going to be a fabulous conference, and they can let you know more about how to register for that. So it's going to be at Central Bank Center. So, and it's offered free to teachers. And so it's just an exciting opportunity for teachers. They're putting some really hard work into creating an exciting agenda that's going to be, I mean, I can't wait to go. I've got it on my calendar.
Good.
I'm going to sign up right away. So then we also heard from the Kentucky United We Learn Council. We had an update from Chief Performance Officer Karen Dodd and KDE Program Manager Sarah Snipes. And they have adopted their moonshot, which is to build a prosperous Kentucky. We will launch an accountability system that is meaningful and useful to all of our learners. So with that, yes, because we know that accountability system drives the world, right? So they're kind of wrapping up the first work, and have decided on 4 new work groups that are going to start, and they have a convening in April. The different groups are engaging and communicating with communities, and in that committee is going to be looking at just gathering more stakeholder voices and using those voices to get the word out there, and just gathering all of those voices of things that are going on. Then there's a menu of options group, and that group is going to be looking at like the system of systems for accountability, kind of from a higher level, and just like, I don't know, just all the options and what do we want it to be and what are our parameters, those kinds of things. And then another group that's working on district support for quality, and that group is looking more at the ground up of accountability, like the nuts and bolts of it. So like hitting that from 2 different angles. And then learning with local districts is an additional group. And that group is looking at like the work that's going on and capturing that and learning from those laboratories of learning and just kind of bringing all of that together. They talked about a publication that you could go to look more about. It's called the Innovation Guide that is newly released. Yes. And that's exciting. And then also, if you ever want an update on what's going on with the council, there is a website on the KDE website that you can go to from there. So lots of good things in our meeting, and we appreciate the wonderful reports that you all gave.
Wow, thank you. I think I'm kind of like salivating. I did actually click on the innovation guide as I was reading one of the newsletters, and just got captivated, and you just keep going. So
Well,
it was.
I mean, it makes you a little teary just to see like the things that we really dream about getting some legs.
Yes.
You know, instead of just being pie in the sky. It's starting to look real. So thank you.
Thank you for that report. Any other comments, questions from the board? We'll move on to our next item, which concerns amendments to.
Now. You're ready.
Okay, dokie. Yes. Well, we ask Associate Commissioner Beth Hargis and Reagan Sadowite to come back to the table to help us address the career and technical education proposed regulatory amendments. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm pleased to say we only have 8 for you to review and not 156.
Hallelujah.
Well, we are in our cleanup era. All of these amendments that we bring forward to you today are cleanup, housekeeping in nature. They come from Title 780, which is from the Education and Workforce Development Cabinet Department for Technical Education, which is where the Office of Career and Technical Education used to be over 10 years ago before it became an office under KDE. And so this is just the first batch of regulations that we will be bringing forward to you as we start the cleanup process to make them fit under the KDE. Meredith, if you go on to the next slide. We have several slides, but I think you can just keep it here. And then if there are any specific questions about specific regulations, we might flip to that slide regarding that. So we start with KAR or 780 KAR 2010. This is actually a regulation that we are recommending that we repeal. The regulation does not provide any additional details beyond what is already in the conforming statute, so it's unnecessary that we have this regulation. It is simply duplication. All of the amendments to the rest of the 7 regulations make changes to conform with 157.808. That gives the Office of Career and Technical Education under the KDE authority to manage and operate the Kentucky Tech system of area technology centers. So these changes do coincide well with the Kentucky Tech policy updates that we brought to you earlier in this meeting. We look at appointments, employee evaluations, employee actions, appeals and hearings, employee grievances, the classification plan, and the compensation plan for the Kentucky Tech system and the employees in our area technology centers. A couple of things to point out to you in some of the regulations. I do want to be clear that absolutely nothing that we are proposing be amended changes the daily operations of the employees or the staff in the area technology centers. It's not policy, it's simply cleanup. We have removed some old materials incorporated by reference. That is because it used to be handled through our office and it's now handled through the Division of Resource Management under KDE. We have also added a new update to a material incorporated by reference, which is in the employee grievances regulation. We updated that to the 156 grievance form. We have contracted work with KSBA for those forms, and that's part of the policy updates as well. Those forms will be housed on the KSBA website in the portal for our employees to have access to. Very, very simple, tedious amendments. Happy to take any questions that you might have.
I did notice that in each instance, you took the opportunity to consult in the field, the practitioners and administrators who have to live by these regulations, and that is much appreciated. If they get it, then they can get it done right. Is that okay? Any questions?
I hope this one isn't confusing, Reagan. Just clearing it up for myself. Title 780 is where CTE used to live, and that's when we always called it Kentucky Tech. So in our state schools meeting, when we talked about Kentucky Tech policy, that's just using the old 780 language.
It's the Kentucky Tech system of area technology centers. So
Okay,
it's just a difference.
It has its own advisory board or a governing board?
Kentucky Tech Personnel Board, yes.
Okay.
Personnel Board.
Okay. And what do they do?
Great. Staff grievances and any issues, any personnel issues.
Okay.
Very similar to the state or
Like the state personnel board. Some functionary, some statutory
Yes.
function. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thanks. I was just trying to remember that switch over. Thank you. And we're repealing one, amending the others.
Yes.
Other questions, comments?
I make the motion to move it forward.
Thank you so much. Dr. Poe has moved approval of amendments to 780 KAR 2:010, 780 KAR 3:030, 780 KAR 3:035, 780 KAR 3:100, 780 KAR 3:120, 780KAR 3:130, 780KAR 6:010, and 780KAR 6:020. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Note that the first is a repeal. The rest are amendments.
Yes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion carries. Thank you guys so much for this. This is a big package, and we appreciate your diligence in supporting our deliberations. Thank you. We are a bit ahead of time. Our next item concerns the Kentucky Impact Survey. Are we ready for that item? Fabulous, fabulous. Associate Commissioner Baron Darnell and the Panorama Education Director of Professional Learning, Emilio Nieves, will provide the overview on the recent results of this biennial education workforce conditions survey. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see you. And I have the easy part. I have the counterparts from Panorama here, the experts of the impact survey itself, but also just want to give due credit to Dr. Stewart and Ellie Gilbert and staff for the administration aspects and the support from the OELE lens in making all this happen on the ground level. But it's great to have Dr. Nevis here and Aaron Smith. And just as an antidote, Danielle, who is listed on here, but she is not in with us today. I had the great pleasure of coaching Danielle on the tennis team, and she is now in Boston working for Panorama. So as education, I didn't get her there. I failed miserably, but it's always gratifying, of course, when you see your younger individuals now prospering in roles and especially connected here with Panorama. So gentlemen, welcome, and look forward to learning about the results of our impact survey.
Thank you, Dr. Darnell. Good afternoon, Chair Robinson, Vice Chair Young, members of the Kentucky Board of Education, Commissioner Kinney, and distinguished guests in the audience. I also want to thank and acknowledge the work of Dr. Darnell, Dr. Vita Stewart, Ali Gilbert, and Justin Edwards, who have been incredible partners over the last couple of years with Panorama Education. As Dr. Darnell mentioned, my name is Dr. Amalio Nieves, and I'm on Panorama's teaching and learning team. I'm a former teacher, curriculum specialist, director for student services, executive director for learning supports, and assistant superintendent for student wellness. My career spans across 4 large districts, including Chicago Public Schools, Broward County Public Schools, Boston Public Schools, and most recently, Baltimore County Public Schools. I'm based out of Baltimore, Maryland, and I have the privilege and honor of serving the KBE team for all things professional learning and strategic advising. And with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Aaron.
Hello, board. Thank you very much for making the time and allowing us to come and share these wonderful results with you. I'm Aaron Smith. I am the account manager from Panorama Education, work very closely with Dr. Stewart and Ms. Gilbert and Justin. Really just want to thank you very much for giving us this time. And we'll turn it back over to Dr. Nieves to give us the results.
And there's a picture of Danielle, who's also a key partner. And a little bit about Panorama, for those of you who are not familiar, we're a team of over 300 former educators like ourselves, implementation specialists, software developers, and researchers, all that work in the service of community of over 1,500 school districts and over 15 million students across all 50 states each year to radically improve student outcomes with actionable data. In addition to our partnership with KDE, we want to recognize and highlight the ongoing partnerships between Panorama and districts across the Commonwealth, including Barron County, Boone County, Jefferson County, and Owensboro in the areas of social emotional learning, school climate and engagement, and Panorama student success. During our time together today, I'll provide a survey overview, highlight some key insights from Impact Kentucky 23-24, share some of our partnership action planning efforts, and then conclude with an opportunity for any reactions from the board. The Kentucky Department of Education's work on elevating teacher voice to support recruitment and retention offers a notable example of how understanding and improving working conditions can have a positive impact. And your work in this area serves as a national model. The centerpiece of this effort is, of course, the statewide working conditions survey, Impact Kentucky. The state partners with Panorama Education to administer this survey every 2 years. Outlined on this slide is a timeline of our partnership going back to October 2019, when we transitioned from TEL to Impact Kentucky, to November 2023 with the third administration of the Impact Kentucky survey, to today, where we are in the midst of rolling out the data and supporting district and school leaders in reviewing their results to inform action planning. In addition to the alignment with your strategic goals, this board's commitment to equity and legislative priorities, I believe the Impact Kentucky Conditions Survey aligns nicely with the board's commitment to its mission statement of improving the future of all Kentucky learners by providing leadership, advocating for resources, advancing policy, and cultivating community partnerships to ensure each and every student has equitable access to high-quality lifelong learning. Much of the discussion that I've heard just in the small time that I've been here today. So this year's survey included 9 topics and 77 questions. The survey was designed to be maximally relevant for educators, with the majority of survey items coming directly from recommendations made by teachers and principals across the Commonwealth. Experiences and perceptions of teachers and staff regarding the working conditions in their schools matter deeply. With the data in the survey reports, we know we have valid and reliable information that can empower us to take focused action toward better supporting educators and improving school climate. Here you can see each of the topics that we surveyed and how they were defined. So as we explore the 2024 Impact Kentucky Working Conditions Survey results, some insights may confirm your own beliefs about existing strengths across our districts, our schools, as well as some areas for growth. Other data points may be surprising, they may present new opportunities for growth, or just simply highlight different perspectives on an issue. This slide shows our response rates over the last 3 administrations, and we can see that those response rates have varied, with somewhat of a dip during the last administration, obviously in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. For the 2023-24 survey window, we heard from over 39,000 caring adults across the Commonwealth, and that accounted for about 77.6% of eligible respondents. And so that's great news. Across all the respondent roles, we saw considerable increases across all respondent roles, with the greatest increases in respondents among our teachers and other education professionals. On this slide, we can see numbers and percentages of respondents by race and ethnicity. Across all grade levels, we saw increases among all grade spans except for the middle school grade span. At Panorama, we often get questions about what makes a change in survey responses significant or meaningful. So before we go over the results, I thought it was important to just share that an important part of analyzing the data and setting clear and achievable goals is understanding how the results change over time. So this table on the slide here shows what % change in favorability would be defined as significant. As mentioned earlier, our N for this year's Impact Kentucky survey was over 39,000 caring adults. So as you can see from this table here, even a 1% plus or minus change can be considered significant. So the headline and preview for the data we're going to share with you today comes from our very own KBE Associate Commissioner, Dr. Byron Darnell, who stated, last survey, we saw the strong effects the pandemic had on educators and the system. The current survey shows encouragement with all areas of data moving in a positive direction, but KBE and districts must continue to value feedback from all stakeholders. And I'm sure you probably could have said it much better than I did. I hope I did it justice. We are going to share some key insights from the 23-24 Impact Kentucky Working Conditions Survey, elevating the voices of caring adults across the Commonwealth. Our first key insight is that across all Impact Kentucky topics, caring adults across the state reported more favorably across all of the topics as compared to the 2021-22 survey administration. We can see change over time positive favorability differences from 1% over time to a 7% positive favorability change over time increases. So as I highlighted earlier, with the large sample size that we've had for this administration, a 1% plus or minus change in favorability can be considered significant. So this is really an area of celebration for the state because we are seeing notable significance across all topics. And this leads to our second key insight, that across all topics, the greatest growth occurred for emotional well-being and belonging, where we saw a 7 percentage point increase in favorability, another area of celebration and strengths. On this slide, we wanted to share some topic level highlights. As we examined all 9 topics, we noticed that areas of relative strength and celebration are related to the topics of staff leadership relationships and educating all students. And while emotional well-being and belonging and resources were topics for which caring adults voiced greater favorability this time around, they also continue to voice opportunities for growth and support in these 2 areas, and I'll speak to them a little bit later. As we explored some of the 77 questions, the previous slide, Meredith. Yes, thank you. As we explored some of the questions related to the various topics across all 77 questions, caring adults reported most favorably on how often do teachers use assessment data to inform their instruction, and when challenges arise in your emotional life, how understanding are your school leaders? Caring adults, however, expressed opportunities for growth in the questions of how much of your own money do you spend on your classroom, and how important is it for your school to hire more specialists to help students? On that question, the first question on how much of your own money do you spend in your classroom, over 19,000 of adult respondents responded quite a bit and a tremendous amount.
It's true, it is true. Sad.
Our next key insight centers around emotional well-being and belonging. And so here I'm going to talk a little bit about some opportunities and share just some of what's happening out in the field of research. An opportunity exists for a continued focus on emotional well-being and belonging. And we see that while caring adults are reporting greater belonging and self-efficacy, they are still concerned about their own emotional well-being and the emotional well-being of their peers. And among the different groups of caring adults, teachers reported greater concern than any other group of caring adults participating in the working conditions survey. So we see some differences, for example, between what school leaders are reporting and then what the teachers are reporting. Here is where I began to think about teacher recruitment and retention, but also thinking about this board's goals and priorities and your proactive and teacher-centric approach. It really serves as a model for other states and districts across the nation. Your Impact Kentucky work demonstrates what are some of the tangible benefits of understanding and working to create the working conditions that all educators deserve. And we recognize that the topic of increasing teacher retention is complex, it's multifaceted, and it's been studied extensively over the past several decades, but more now than ever, there's been this focus on teacher recruitment and retention. And so recognizing the importance of working conditions in this context is pivotal, and numerous studies have shown that factors such as leadership, support, and resources play a critical role in a teacher's decision to stay or leave the profession. And just some key findings from a 2023 report from Penn State University. Some of the key findings included that leadership styles significantly impact teacher job satisfaction and commitment. Teachers who feel valued and supported by their administrators are less likely to leave. And schools with higher levels of teacher collaboration and professional development opportunities foster greater retention. Another key insight here is that an opportunity exists to focus on supporting caring adults who have taught 5 to 10 years. Now, here's a heat map that we put together, and you can see it in the data. Areas that are green are where the respondent groups showed greater favorability, reported greater favorability as compared to the average of all respondents. The oranges, the different shades of oranges, reported less favorability as compared to the average. So what we're seeing in this heat map is that the caring adults actually in that 5 to 10 years in the profession group reported less favorably than caring adults who are novice or more seasoned on 8 out of the 9 topics surveyed. And I wanted to share that in a recent Learning Professional Journal article that I read, it highlighted the importance around the needs of mid-career teachers, and that they do have different needs than our novice or seasoned educators. And so to serve their needs, it's important for professional learning designers, for school and district leaders to understand teacher career development, especially how we contextualize professional learning experiences for that group of teachers. How do we tap into their expertise? They're wanting for us to tap into their expertise and elevate them as seasoned educators with much to bring to the table, to provide experiences that are interactive. And also they're asking us to think about how we prioritize professional learning time dedicated to the most pressing needs, again, based on the contextual needs within the particular communities where they work and serve. Our last key insight is that caring adults, and I know the last time that I was here before with this board, we talked about staff voices around resources. And while caring adults reported greater strengths around technology and learning spaces, as you can see there in terms of what I highlighted with strengths, they're still voicing a need around specialists to support students and resources in their classroom for which they do not need to spend out-of-pocket money. And on the left side, you'll see a heat map on the lower left-hand side. The heat map there indicates there's a notable difference in how school leaders and teachers perceive resources, with teachers reporting a lot less favorably than principals and assistant principals. On the right-hand side, there you'll see there's an opportunity to examine further the needs of caring adults who are novice educators, and then again, those educators in the 5 to 10 year group. So here just some research that I've been reading related to a brief that came from the Learning Policy Institute. Just speaks about how working conditions influence teacher decisions to stay or leave the profession. And their report highlighted competitive salaries and benefits are pivotal to increasing teacher retention, the importance of adequate resources and manageable class sizes, and the role of teacher preparation and mentoring, particularly in the early career stages. So this time here, I just wanted, as part of my report to this board, to really provide a spotlight on Boone County. And Panorama Education recently highlighted the Impact Kentucky Working Conditions Survey, and Assistant Superintendent of Learning Services, Jenny Watson, in a brief that we published on teacher retention, 5 effective strategies for retaining high quality staff. And with that, Meredith, thank you. We're going to play a short video for you.
We're caring about that whole child. Wrapping our arms around that whole child so that child wrapping
Chair Robinson, while they're working on that, I have a comment and then a question. Supporting our teachers and letting them know that we know them and we know where they are and what they're doing and what it feels like to be there. As a teacher, I received the week of National Teacher Appreciation Week. This year, it's Monday, May 6th through Friday, May 10th. I received messages from the Commissioner of Education saying, I support you, great job, from my principal, from my superintendent, but I never received anything from the Kentucky Board of Education. Could we send them an email out saying, we know what you're doing and we appreciate you? I want them to know we're listening to this and we're hearing their cries for help.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you raising that. I said to Robin, you know, it's like, when is the next teacher advisory council? And she said, teacher, principal, superintendent. I mean, there are data here that we need to bring to the practicing community to help us help illuminate some of the further considerations that coming from their perspective that we should be advising. Alyssa, please.
Well, I'm somebody that took this survey, and I'm the person that always gets voluntold in my building to hand out the codes and tell everybody, just pick a piece of paper.
For your service.
No problem. You know, looking at that data with the division of the years, you know, we do a lot of focus on those 0 to 4 teachers. You know, they do need support. And I think we do a lot to make sure that they stay where they are. And, you know, when I think of those 5 to 10 teachers, you know, your 5th years when you hit your tenure year, and it's kind of like, we've got you to this point, and it's on you now. And I think also too, I think back to my life, between 0 to 4 and 5 to 10, my life changed. I had a child. I had different needs at home that I didn't have in those first 4 years of my career. And there were times I thought, well, my principal may not care that I'm calling in to say I have a sick child, or she may, you know. So I think that we need to focus on those 5 to 10 teachers, because we can't lose that experience of 5 to 10 years. We can't afford to do that, because then we're going to start having a huge group of 0 to 4 and then nothing in between. And then we're going to have teachers that are getting ready to retire. So, you know, districts really need to focus, and I'm going to take this back and say, what are we doing for those 5 to 10 year teachers? Because I do think they kind of fall through the cracks. They're not looked at as seasoned professionals, you know, because they don't really have a huge range of teaching. I mean, 10 years is a lot now, but what we can do, because we've got to keep those, you know, teachers in there. Because if you make it 5 years, I think you can make it 27 years, I think. But
I think they're also the teachers that get moved around the most, because they're new teachers are retiring, teachers are going to other districts, and this is the group of teachers they think, well, maybe we can get some longevity out of them in this position. So if you think about the teachers in your building that are moved around a lot, very typically it's in that group. It's the ones who are already tenured, but they're newly tenured,
and they can never get settled in one area. Yeah.
You know, I think it would be really great to have some teachers look at this and say, all right, what are the things that we know we're doing and we need to keep doing? What are the things that may be indicated here that would help support and nurture career growth, career longevity, and productivity in terms of student learning? And what are the things that we need to, say, that's not working? I wonder a lot about transfer policy and the use of, I think teachers need to have a debate about the question of seniority versus various other forms of credentialing to document skill development. What are you valuing, and how do you leverage those things?
I think your
further
point
comment
about like a lot of times this is when you kind of choose to start your family, and then it's like from starting a family to entering kindergarten. You know, your child at home, what kind of supports do we have for those mothers and fathers that are in the classrooms that they've got children at home, so I mean, I think maybe that's policy we need to look at too.
I agree. Anything else? We ready for the video?
Unfortunately, the sound system is not cooperating, so we
Oh.
will share the link with all the members. so that they
Okay,
can watch.
okay, very good. I have a feeling that we could go on and on with this topic, because this is so much, there's a lot of provocation here. Thank you very much.
You want me to go on?
Yes, please.
Just one thing just to share it with the Boone County. In Boone County, the caring adults there reported favorability across all topics, just like we saw across the Commonwealth.
Right.
But they had growth of 3 percentage points or more across all of their topics. And again, they surveyed over 1,100 caring adults in their community. And so again, that if you go back to that table, great significance across all the topics, so an area to celebrate. Here on this slide, oops, oh, there she is. We did some work with KDE and partnered with them to offer some professional learning. And actually, it began last year in the off year. We provided 2 professional learning sessions, and we brought district and school leaders back to come back for some professional learning and to talk about their efforts around strategic planning and the use of the Impact Kentucky Working Conditions Survey and to share best practices. And then once the results were released, we offered several sessions during the months of February and March for school leaders, district leaders, and school leadership teams. And so we had 2 sessions on getting started with Impact Kentucky data, which focused on data navigation and data inquiry. And then we had some action planning sessions, which went from understanding the data to responding to and acting on the data. And we provided all district and school leaders, anyone, and actually it's on the Impact Kentucky site. We provided them with a customizable slide deck with instructions so that they could share the results back with their respective communities. And so just some great work and collaboration with KDE, and also many resources are available on the website, including accessibility to the data. And with that, we welcome any thoughts, reactions, or questions.
Further comments from members of the board? I think there's a treasure trove here.
I'm lost in it now.
And I really appreciate the way this presentation was organized around areas of focus and just helping us not have to make our own way through the data. It's a great framework for and I think quite provocative for us. What do you think we should do next? What would, if you were advising us, what would it be what would you say?
Well, I think we're hearing from members of the board. First of all, really looking at that key 5 to 10 year group. I would also say continue to focus on emotional well-being and belonging, because those are areas where we see folks are asking for support. So I think that's a key area. I think the more we can do that, the stronger that teachers feel, and the more self-efficacious that educators can feel that they know that they matter. I think then you're going to see results change across all the other areas. And I always advise in terms of what can you do that's highly actionable and going to give you impact. Don't try to tackle everything. Maybe prioritize 1 or 2 topics or 1 topic, and then just do some substantive work. And then I think you'll see growth across all other areas. I just want to say, I didn't get to say this, but I was telling Dr. Darnell, you are doing some incredible, amazing work, and you are leading the nation. When people ask me who's doing work around this and where can we learn, I turned to Kentucky. And know that Colorado is following your lead. Tennessee has been looking at your work. Other districts who are doing focus on teacher voice data are asking and looking to you also for your direction. So I want to applaud the work that you're doing and and if I advise, continue to lead the way, continue to support your educators out there.
Well, thank you so much. This is a really, really informative report, and I believe we'll be coming back to this to reference and illuminate further discussion, further work, and also help us really to focus. So appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Darnell. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that was really, I think if we just kind of opened this up, we could stay on it for now. But let's ruminate a bit. Let's think about it. And I suspect when we get around to working on specific articulation of our goals and for our own accountability, we'll be coming back to these data as essential to informing our, supporting our thinking in that regard. So board members, we've had a really, really productive meeting. We will reconvene tomorrow at 9 a.m. And at this time, if there's no objection, I'll entertain a motion and second to adjourn. Oh, before you do that, let me.
Hold the phone.
Yeah, I do want to thank Secretary Link and Dr. Todd for joining us virtually. Invite them back tomorrow as we reconvene. And I'll survey one more time. Further thoughts or comments from the board? Then I'll entertain that motion. Dr. Steve, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, thank you. All in favor of adjournment until tomorrow at 9 a.m., say aye.
Aye.
If there's any opposition, say no. We are adjourned.